Hello everybody, my name is Paige and welcome back to my channel. So today I decided to film my fall TBR. It is still August as I'm filming this, but it is starting to feel like fall outside. So I wanted to film this fall TBR because I'm kind of in the fall mood. So all of these books you'll be seeing on my September, October, and November TBRs. I probably won't get to all of the books that I'm going to show you, but I would like to, but I probably won't because I'm being very ambitious with this TBR. It's a lot of thrillers. I think there's a couple romances in there, but it's a lot of thrillers and a lot of fantasy. So I'm really excited to show you. So let's go ahead and get into these books. Really quick before we get into the books, my dog is snoring very loudly as I film this, and there's no stopping that. So if you hear snoring in the background, it's my dog. I just wanted to let you know. Little disclaimer. The first two books that are on my fall TBR are by Stephen King. So I've read Pet Sematary, Carrie, and The Shining by him. So those are three of his very popular books, but I have a lot of his books that I want to get to. The first book I have is Fairy Tale. My mom bought this one for me like a year ago, I think. I think this was like a year or two ago, and I haven't gotten to it yet, but I really want to. I know it has something to do with like a parallel universe and like good versus evil, and I think this one has been said to be like different from his other books, but it sounds amazing and I'm really excited to read it. And then the second Stephen King book that I have is The Institute. So this one, there's kids with like extraordinary powers and they get sent to this institute and they're trying to extract their powers from them. And then obviously they're trying to escape from that because they don't want that to happen to them. I love like anything with people with extraordinary powers. I love the Shatter Me series. So I definitely think I'll enjoy this. This sounds like my type of book. Also, I just like Stephen King. I've rated all three books I've read by him 5 stars. So yeah, the next two books I have are classics. I made a goal this year to read 2 classics. I still haven't read any, so I'm throwing 2 onto this fall TBR. The first one is The Bell Jar. This one I have been avoiding like knowing anything about because I want to go into it like kind of blind a little bit. I've heard amazing things about it. My mom read this, I think, in college, and she said she really enjoyed it. This is the copy that I have. I got it from a used bookstore. So yeah, I'm really excited to read this one. I think it'll be a good classic. It's a little bit shorter, not as daunting of a classic. And then the second one is Frankenstein. This one's a really tiny copy with like really tiny words, but I obviously know the story of Frankenstein, but I want to actually read the classic because I've never read the full classic before, just like excerpts of it. So I got this copy from a used bookstore. Also, it was like $2 and it's so cute and tiny and can definitely fit in like my bag. And it's just a really good book for the fall because it's a little creepy. So yeah, this is the second classic. The next book I want to read, Harry Potter. I have read the series before, but I want to reread it this fall just because it's such a good like series to read from the fall to the winter time. So I kind of want to start this in the fall and read it through the winter. Although I will probably end up binging it and reading it all in the fall because I just love this series so much. I love the books. I love the movies. So yeah, this is the first book, obviously. I have read this so many times. The spine is like so ruined, but I really love this series and I can't wait to reread it. The next series that I want to read is the Twilight series. I read Twilight last fall, and then I have New Moon and Eclipse. I forget which order they go into. I think it's New Moon, then Eclipse. But I have these two, and I have to get the other books, but I've been getting them from a used bookstore slowly, just because I like the old covers better than the newer covers. But if you don't know Twilight, definitely recommend it. It's so cheesy, and like everybody hates on it, but it's just a good cheesy, especially if you're looking for like a quick read. Like I read Twilight so quickly because it's just so cheesy and such an easy read. Definitely enjoyed it, and if you're like you like paranormal romances, go ahead and get into it. It's really good. Just really cheesy. And the movies are really good too, but also very cheesy, and the editing on them is not great, obviously. But we don't like them because they're good. We like them because they're Twilight, is the best way I can explain that. The next series I want to read this fall is The Naturals. So this will be a continuation because I already read The Naturals, but I bought Killer Instinct. It is about a group of teens that are helping the FBI solve cold cases with like their abilities that they have, and it's really interesting. There's like a little love triangle in there, a little romance. It's YA, and basically the way it was described to me that really got me into it is Criminal Minds as like teenagers, and I really enjoyed it. Jennifer Lynn Barnes, her writing is amazing. It's such a quick read. I have the Inheritance Games by her, and I want to read that too, but I'm not adding that to this fall TBR just because it's so big already. I can't add anymore. But Killer Instinct is the next book, and I really want to get this series read because it's just so good and so easy to binge, and it got me out of a reading slump. The Naturals got me out of a reading slump. So if I get into a reading slump this fall, I think this will be the book that I turn to. The next book that I have is Ruthless Vows, so I obviously want to finish this duology. I absolutely love Divine Rivals. I talk about it all the time. I don't know how many times I've talked about it on this channel, but I love Divine Rivals so much that I really want to read Ruthless Vows. Obviously, Divine Rivals left off in a cliffhanger. This one I've heard talks more about like the politics, which is really interesting to me, the politics of everything. So I'm excited for that. I heard there's a little less romance in this one, but that's to be expected because Divine Rivals was very romance heavy, I noticed. So I'm excited to learn more about the politics, but also get a wrap on our love story from Divine Rivals and where we left off, because that cliffhanger was crazy. I need to know what happens next. And I just love this version of Ruthless Vows. It's beautiful, but that's besides the point. I'm really excited to wrap up this duology and find out what happens to them because I love them with my whole heart. The next series I have for this fall is A Touch of Darkness. I don't know the full series name, but I know it's a Hades and Persephone romance. I think it's like a little dark romance, obviously, because it's Hades and Persephone. I love Greek mythology so much. I have been obsessed with Greek mythology since I was little, and I love any retellings of Greek mythology. I'll read them all. I love them. Hades and Persephone, like their story is always fascinated me as well, just because it's told so many different ways. Like there's no specific way that it is told that I like more. So I'm excited to get into this like retelling of their story and everything. And I know it's a whole series, and I probably shouldn't start any more series, but I'm going to anyways. So that is our next book. The next series, there's a lot of series I want to start this fall. Miss Peregrine's, I think that's how you pronounce it, Home for Peculiar Children. I don't know how I haven't read this yet. This is the first book, and I think I have the second book. I need to go out and buy the rest if I really like this. I don't know, I haven't read this yet. Like, it's been out for forever. My entire family read it. They all talked about it, and I haven't read it yet. So I really need to get to this. Obviously, like, look at the cover. It's perfect vibes for fall. It's a little spooky, you know, very spooky. But I'm excited to read this just because I've heard so much about it and I haven't read it yet. I don't exactly know what it's like really about. A mysterious island, an abandoned orphanage, a strange collection of very peculiar photographs. So this sounds really good. Oh, there's pictures in it. That is so cool. I've never looked through this book before, clearly, because I just realized that. But I'm excited to read this. It looks really interesting. It sounds amazing. Heard amazing things about it. So that is our next series. The next book I have is a very short YA thriller. It is called The Island. My friend read a couple books by her and she said I should check them out. So obviously I bought one when I was with her and I'm excited to read it. This is, I think I already said it's YA, so it's a little bit shorter, and it's about like influencers. They're going to this amusement park island for like the rich, and they have like amazing hotel rooms. The theme park is amazing, but then they're realizing they don't know how they're getting off this island alive. So I love like thrillers that involve like getting deserted on an island and all that kind of stuff. So this sounds really good. It definitely will be like a getting out of a reading slump book just because it's so short and it is a YA, and usually YAs help me get out of reading slumps very easily because I read them so quickly. So that is our next book. The next book I have is Cold Moon Over Babylon. I think a lot of people know this one. I've never heard of this one before, actually. I think I have. I just like haven't got it in my brain. But my grandma was giving away books. My aunt was there. She said that this one was scary. So obviously I had to add it to my fall TBR. It sounds really good. There's like somebody that gets murdered, and then something strange is happening in Babylon. Traffic lights flash in eerie blue. A ghostly hand slithers from the drain of a kitchen sink. Graves erupt from the local cemetery in an implacable march of terror. And beneath the murky surface of the river, a shifting, almost human shape slowly takes form. Night after night, it will pursue the murderer, and when the full moon rises over Babylon, it will seek a terrible vengeance. This sounds really good. We love a vengeance book, but it sounds amazing. Sounds scary, so definitely a good book for the fall. The next book I have is Stalking Jack the Ripper. I'm not going to get into this one too much just because I already talked about it in a book haul that I did. So if you want to hear more about this book, go ahead and check that out over there. But this sounds amazing and I love the cover, but it just sounds really good and really interesting and just perfect for the fall time, which is exactly why I bought it, because I wanted some more fall books. So I'm really excited to read this coming up fall, and I hope I get to this one because it sounds really good and I've heard a lot of amazing things about it. The next book I have is Strange Sally Diamond. So this one is a little bit of a shorter thriller, which I like because they have to capture your attention so much quicker in the book because they only have this little amount of time to like have your attention and make a huge plot twist. So I really like this sort of thrillers occasionally. Sometimes I like the longer thrillers. It really depends on the book. But I've heard amazing things about this book overall. It's a monthly Barnes & Noble pick. So yeah, I heard a lot of great things about the author in the book from employees at Barnes & Noble. Again, I talked about this in my most recent book haul, so I'm not really going to get into like what it's about, but yeah, that's our next book. If you couldn't tell, I'm slowly grabbing books from behind me. I reorganized my bookshelf so that all my fall books were like more up here just so I have easier access to them, but now that's kind of biting me in the butt because I'm grabbing all of them for this video. The next book I have is Butcher and Blackbird. I got this a while ago and I've been waiting for a good time to read it, and I feel like fall is the perfect time to read like a serial killer romance and a dark romance, so this will definitely, I think this will definitely be read this fall just because I've heard so much about it and I really want to read it. I'm really excited about this one. I've heard so many booktubers, so many people on Bookstagram talk good about it, so I'm excited to get to this one. That's our next book. The next book I have is Belladonna. I've heard this is more like a gothic romance, and I feel like it's just like a good fall book because she's got like Cygna's best chance of uncovering the murder is an alliance with Death himself. So like it talks about death. I don't know. To me, it's just more of like a fall book, fall vibes. I know it's not like exactly the most perfect fall book, but for me, it just fits more in the fall than anywhere else. I really want to read this because Foxglove and then I think it's Wisteria. Wisteria just came out recently, so I want to get into this. I've heard amazing things about it. I know Alexa Ray loves the series, so I'm really excited to read this. Again, heard great things about it, so I'm excited. The next book I have is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. This is a Barnes & Noble exclusive edition, and I think it's beautiful. I know this is like more of a cozy fantasy, which personally I think is perfect for the fall time, especially like it's raining outside, you got a candle going, you're drinking your coffee, cozy fantasy. So I'm really excited to get into this. I've never read a cozy fantasy before, so I'm really excited. It's like a different genre for me. I've heard so many amazing things about this. So many people have been reading this lately and just raving about it, so I'm really excited to get into this one. And I have a feeling that we'll be going and buying the next book in the series because I have a feeling I'm going to really like this one. The next book that I have is The Night She Disappeared by Lisa Jewell. So this is like two teenagers go missing and then the case runs cold, and then a writer moves into like a cottage next to where they went missing. She's walking through the woods and she sees a note that says "dig here," and she's like doesn't know if it's a clue to where they disappeared to. So I think it's just trying to solve like that cold case, which is a really interesting concept to me. My grandma bought this for me and she read it and she said it's amazing. I trust my grandma's opinion greatly because we have the same book taste. So I definitely want to read this fall. I think this has been on a past TBR, but I just haven't been in a thriller mood. I really only get in a thriller mood when it's like colder out. When it's hot out during the summer, I'm more in like a romance mood most of the time. So yeah, I'm excited to read this fall though. The next book I have is The Maidens. I read The Silent Patient by him and I loved it. The twist I did not see coming at all. I had all my suspicions about other people, did not see the twist come at all. This one is more dark academia, which I don't think I've ever read a dark academia book, so I'm excited to branch out into that. I think it's like a subgenre. I'm not entirely sure. Don't quote me on that. But I am excited for this one. This one was recommended to me at Barnes & Noble by an employee, so I'm excited to see if this one is good. And if it is anything like The Silent Patient, it'll be amazing. The next book I have on this TBR is Fourth Wing. I feel like I don't really have to talk too much about what this one's about because everyone has read it at this point, except for me apparently. I get into a fantasy mood more in the fall time. I haven't read that much fantasy and I've heard amazing things about this, so I'm excited for it. My friend has been begging me to read it, so I really need to. I just feel like I'll finally be in the mood for this fall, so yeah. The next book I have is The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley. I read The Paris Apartment by her. Loved it. This one I actually got from a little free library, so I got this one for free, which I was surprised somebody put it in there, but I am really excited to read this. I don't really know what it's about. A New Year's reunion in the remote Scottish wilderness, the beautiful one, the golden couple, the volatile one, the new parents, the quiet one, the city boy, the outsider. One of these friends is a murderer, and one won't make it out alive. That is crazy. I love books. It sounds like they are kind of more stranded in this wilderness. I love books like this. That kind of reminds me of One by One by Frida McFadden. I really enjoyed that one. So I'm hoping that I like this one. I liked her writing style in The Paris Apartment. I know people have mixed opinions about her, but I liked her writing style personally, so I'm hoping I like this one. The next book I have is Powerless. I've heard about this everywhere. Everybody has been reading it and loving it, and I finally need to pick it up and read it. Heard about it on BookTube, BookTok, Bookstagram. All my favorite booktubers have read it and loved it. I've heard it's kind of like The Hunger Games, which immediately sold on that because I love The Hunger Games so much. So I definitely need to finally pick this up this fall. Again, I'm more in a fantasy mood in the fall, so I'm hoping that I will finally be in the mood to read this. The next book I have is Psyche and Arrows. Again, still haven't figured out how to pronounce it since I put this on the TBR. I need to read this one finally. It is a Greek mythology book. I love Greek mythology. I don't know why I haven't picked it up yet. So that is all I have to say about this one, is that I need to read it, and everybody needs to force me to read this finally. The next book I have is Hooked. So I have heard amazing things about this book and just the whole series, so I want to give the first book a chance. It is a Peter Pan retelling, dark romance where Captain Hook is the love interest. All the rest of the series is just these Disney retellings where the villains are the love interest, which is so cool to me because you obviously don't see that in Disney movies. There are a lot of books like this where the villain is the love interest, but I'm excited to read this one. I've heard great things about it. I've heard great things about the entire series, so I'm excited to get into this. Dark romance for me is really the romance that I like to read in the fall, just because fall vibes are just more dark to me. So yeah, I'm excited to read this. Obviously, a big chunk is missing from over there. The Caraval series, I really want to read this fall. I need to reread Caraval because I don't really remember what happened. I think I read this 2 or 3 years ago, so I need to reread it before I read the other two. But I am excited to get into this finally and read it so then I can get into Once Upon a Broken Heart. Heard amazing things about this. I loved Caraval when I read it the first time and gave it 5 stars, so I'm hoping I love it as much the next time. So that is the full series that I want to read this fall. I don't know if I'll end up reading all of them, but I really want to. The stack of books that I just had stacked up for this fall TBR just fell over, which is telling me that there's too many books on it, so we'll stick to this being our last book. Last book is Cinder, the Lunar Chronicles I read when I was in middle school, and I loved it so much. I need to reread this series, especially for the nostalgia. There is a Cinderella retelling, Little Red Riding Hood retelling, Rapunzel retelling, and Snow White retelling. So I really want to reread these. Again, they're fantasy, there's a little bit of romance, they're YA, they're really quick reads. I read them really fast when I was in middle school, so I'm really excited to read these, and that is our last book. So that is all the books that I have. Probably way too many. Obviously, the stack of books just fell over, so definitely too many, but I am being very ambitious this fall. Probably won't get to all of them, but you will be seeing them on TBRs. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, you can give it a like. If you like me, you can go ahead and subscribe. And I will be coming out with some TBRs soon. Obviously, I will come out with my September TBR, my August wrap-up pretty soon. So yeah, I'm excited to see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys!